Hey there, Donald Henderson here. Today we're going to get back to business. And what I mean by that is we're going to have a little conversation about some business concepts. Three, three of them this morning or today. And let's get right into it. This is for people who want to build something that can give them passive income. I'm not talking about the self-employed folks because that's not the same kind of thing. I'm more the entrepreneur building a business or investing so that you have passive income, money coming in, and you can take some time off. When you're self-employed, just like a job, you don't work, you don't make the money. Okay, so the first one today, some of these concepts are pretty simple. The first one is delay of gratification. Now, what is delay of gratification? Well, when it comes to business and money, it's basically getting that income. You work for someone else, you work for a company. At the end of the week or a couple of weeks, you get the paycheck. So as soon as you walk in and clock in, you are starting to make some money. You may not see it because the paycheck comes later, but there is some instant pay that's coming your way when you're employed. I'm gonna fix my phone here a little bit, bouncing around a lot on these roads. Anyhow, when you have your own business, when you're building a business, delay of gratification, you may not get paid right away. You may spend weeks, months, sometimes years building something, especially if you can't do it full time. It may take some time before you see a return on your investment. This ability to put things off is essential for building something like this. Just let's use in a restaurant as an example. Okay, you need to get the facility, you need to get the financing, you need to hire employees, the wait staff, the cook staff, all that kind of stuff, the cashier. Okay, to keep the business going. Initially, if this is your business, you are going to be probably negative at times. You may have to reach into your own pocket and pull out money to get payroll. You need to pay your employees, right? So it may take a while before you build up the business enough to where you get some in return later. It's not a bad thing. It's just typical, depending what kind of business you're running. When you first start a business, is what Jay Massey says, you're a CEO, not a chief executive officer. You're the chief everything officer. You may be doing everything. You may be doing the management. You may be helping out serving food. You may be in the back cooking up some eggs or something in the morning. So you have to be able to do it all initially until you get the right people working for you. What else? So you have delay of gratification. You have to be willing to do that. If you can't do that, or you're not willing to do that, maybe you should think about either having your own self-employed little business or working for somebody else. The second thing, let's see here, I got my list here. The second thing is a builder mentality. And what do I mean by that? Let's go back to the restaurant situation. You want to build it. Hold on, I'm stuck at a light here. You want to build it up. And what I mean by that is that if you want that passive income, you want to be able to take time off away from your business, you have to build it up to a point to where you can do that. You need to find the right employees. You need to hire someone who can play manager and keep the business running while you're not there. Some restaurants, they're open 7/24. They're open like, I guess Denny's used to be. I don't know if they still are. You can't be there all the time. You have to sleep, right? And you have things you have to do as well for your life and your family. So you want to build it up. You want to build up a team of people who can keep the business running even when you're not in the business. Okay? If you want to make it really successful, you have to build it to a certain size. If you're just a small restaurant, you do breakfast, you just have 2 wait staff, you have 1 cook and the like, and if say the cook calls in sick, guess what? You're there, you're working. So that leads me to the third point. Redundancy. Now, I come from an aerospace background. You notice when you see planes up in the air, a Boeing plane, it has at least 2 engines, right? If it only had 1 engine on it and that failed or had difficulty, guess what? You're going to the ground and not a very happy way. So the same thing when you build a business, you want redundancy. This is where the concept of cross-training comes in. You want your best employees cross-trained with each other so that they can do different roles. You may have a manager that can also cook, or you can have a wait person who can also do cleaning and also do cashiering, things like that. You want to get the business set up in such a way that if something happens, which it will happen because people are people, someone will quit, someone will get sick, someone needs to go on vacation, whatever. You don't want to close down your business because one of your key people are out. That whole concept of no single point of failure is very important because you want to keep that. Think of your business as being a printing press, okay? If the auger feeding the money into the business isn't coming in, it's not going to be feeding you, it's not going to be feeding your employees as well. So anyhow, I just wanted to go over some 3 basic concepts for you to think about. This is for the people who are just thinking about starting a business, or they're already started a business and they're small. Excuse me. You may be frustrated because you are the CEO, you're doing everything, and you may be thinking about stopping it and going back to your job. But these are things you want to think about before you get started and keep in mind as you're working, because you do want to be a builder. You want to build something that's successful and brings value to the community, to the market. You want to bring out a good product. You want to have good service. You want to have a place where people come in and are comfortable, and they want to go there not just for the food but for the whole experience. You want to have staff that are inviting and the like. But anyhow, so let's go over them again. It's delay of gratification. You have to be prepared for that if you're starting your own business. You may want to set up some things on the side so that if you're not working at the same time as you're starting to build your business, you may want to have a little bit of a nest egg to give you some cushion in case you're having some dry spells there. Also having a reserve account, if you got a rental, for instance, rental house, and your tenants leave or you have to evict them, whatever. Well, when they leave, you no longer have the income. Well, you still have expenses. You got maintenance, you got insurance, you got your mortgage, everything else on there. So you want to have a little padding there. But the thing is when you first start out a business, is you may be having some dry times to where the money isn't coming for you. Even though you're making payroll, you have to make your payroll. If you don't pay your employees, you don't have employees anymore. So delay of gratification, builder mentality. You always want to be thinking, how can I expand this? How can I make it better? Like some restaurants, I use the restaurant thing because that's the first thing that came to my mind, is, you may want to knock down a wall and expand to the next space if you're like in a strip mall or something like that. And redundancy, you want the business to keep moving even if somebody, one of your key employees, doesn't show up for whatever reason, including you. You're human. You can get sick, you can get a cold, you can get the flu, whatever. You want it to keep going even if you are not there. So you want to have that redundancy, cross-train, have people who can do more than one role in your business. All right, so think about those. If you have any other ideas what would add to these 3, reply down in the comments. If you have questions, also go down in the comments. I hope this is helpful. I really want to encourage people to think about creating a business, because it's not just about the money. There's there's purpose, there's satisfaction, there's a lot of things that can come from doing your own thing. All right, take care. We'll see you in the next video. Don out.